Hey guys, as I record this, it's late 2024. It's the 27th of December. So 2024 is very rapidly coming to an end. Another thing that's coming to an end is my 60th year around the sun. I'm 59. I will be 60 in February. And at that point, I have zero choice. I have to consider myself an old man. It's kind of funny when I turned 40, what I heard a lot was, oh, 40 is the new 30. And then even when I turned 50, I heard every now and then, oh, 50 is the new 40. Those are just things that people would say. So 40 and 50-year-olds didn't feel quite so bad about themselves. When you turn 60, though, they don't say anything like that. What they say, well, when they find out that you're 60, is they think, oh, man, I'm really sorry to hear that. Would you do me a favor and stand next to that hole so they don't have to drag you as far once you fall over? And I'm getting to that point. What I want to talk about in this video is how to keep playing pool and how to keep, I guess, playing your best, having the most fun, even as your body deteriorates around you and different elements that creep up with old age start to affect your play. This happens to everybody. Sometimes it happens a lot sooner. Sometimes it happens a lot later. Some of these things can be not just an age thing, just an ailment or an injury or something. But mostly, I'm just going to talk about the stuff that can affect a player as they age. One of the most common things that everybody probably thinks about when they think about an old person is they move slowly. They're not as fast as they used to be. I got to walk all the way down here to get my chalk. Walk all the way back here to the shot. That is one of the few things, ailments, I guess I'll call it, that can be used to your actual advantage. You can be better at evaluating the table. You have more time to not be stupid, to think of a better option than maybe what you already had in mind, what you initially had in mind. Can also give you more time to relax. I'm a big believer in trying to relax between shots. So if I shoot the 9 and then immediately play shape, immediately run over the other end of the table to bank the 8, maybe there are better options than that for me. I can take advantage of that extra time while I'm walking over here to think, there's something better than maybe banking this 8 cross side? Is there a better option? You can also, like I said, relax between shots. These things are, as far as I'm concerned, very helpful and might be about the only thing where getting old can be a good thing for your game. One of the things that I've noticed as my 3D vision has diminished is that almost every shot requires more of a cut than I think it does. Especially when I'm all the way down here and things have just more of a 2D perspective, just like a 2D picture than they do up here. But I don't shoot from up here. We'll get to that. So almost every shot, especially if it's really close to straight in, I find that I just have to cut it more than I initially think. Because they're all like that. Every shot that requires a cut usually requires more of a cut than I initially think. See how bad I hit that ball? So, try to fix that. Try to alleviate that problem as much as you can. Most of the things I'm going to talk about in this video, they're going to be things that hurt your game. But it doesn't mean it has to immediately kill your game. It doesn't mean it has to immediately stop you from enjoying it, having any success, having any fun. You just have to, take what you get and play the hand that's dealt to you. And as you age, you're going to get more and more bad beats dealt out. Shoot this 9, just cut it a little bit more than I think. Just remind myself of that it's going to be more of a cut. Remind myself, hey, my 3D vision is not as good as it was when I was 20. There's a lot of things that aren't as good as they were when I was 20. That's what she said. You just deal with it. Try to alleviate the issue as much as you can. Another thing that can happen, it can be age related or just injury related, but I had a problem with my right heel a few years ago. I had a problem with my left ankle a couple years ago. I've had an ongoing problem with my arm, my left arm, all of 2024. You get to the point where things just hurt. Something's always going to hurt as you get older. And that can, make you move more slowly. In the case of my foot problems, my ankle problems, make me move slower, and I already talked about that. You can take advantage of moving more slowly. Now, in the case of my arm, it's painful for me. When I get down on the shot and straighten my arm out a little bit, it's painful for me. And a lot of people will have pain when they get into their stance, when they try to get back up. Maybe they have back problems, and it hurts to do this. Talk about that. But the arthritis or whatever might be happening, if it's painful to be down here and sawing away at your thumb taking practice strokes, I think my advice in that case, speed up. Again, you're not 20 anymore. You're trying to prolong your ability to play pool and enjoy it. Maybe you need 3 or 4 practice strokes. Maybe you've always had 3 or 4 practice strokes. But they used to not hurt when you did it. Maybe you used to be able to be bent over for 10 seconds. Now you can't anymore. Do everything right. When it doesn't hurt, my left arm isn't hurting me right now. I'm just standing here finding the angle and all that. Now it starts to hurt and decrease my number of practice strokes. Decrease the pain that I'm in. And there are a lot of things that you can come up with. I'm not coming up with a lot right now that are similar. If it hurts to do something, you still have to do it. Like it hurts to get into a stance, but you still have to get into a stance. Try to decrease that amount of time. Just to decrease the amount of pain and increase the amount of fun that you have. I've known some people, luckily this has never really happened to me, unless I've just had way too much caffeine, where the hand will shake, like back here. Notice a lot at the end of a backswing. Instead of a backswing being like this, it'll be like this. It'll be jiggly. And I've seen some players that almost look like they're trying to time that jiggle so they can still stroke straight. If you notice at the end of your backswing, the times this happened to me, that's when I've noticed it. Don't pause. You're used to pausing, but you're used to not doing this. Remove the pause and see if that helps. A couple more things that can help that type of side-to-side motion is shorten your bridge. Just shorten your bridge. Think about, like my normal bridge length is about 11 and a half inches. Unless I'm hampered by the rail or something. If I'm back here and my hand is shaking, my tip is shaking in the opposite direction. My hand goes this way, this way. If I shorten my bridge and move my backhand the exact same amount, my tip is still moving. It's just not moving as much. So I'm going to be closer to the original shot line than if I had a really left. You can exaggerate. If I had a really long bridge, if I was whatever Filipino and my bridge was like this, I move this. Look how much my tip is moving. But if I have a shorter bridge, move my backhand the same amount, my tip is not moving as much. Now I'm not saying go from 11 inches to 2 inches or whatever. I'm saying if you shorten it, it will lessen the impact of this type of accidental motion that could be happening. So that's one thing that can happen. If you find that your hand is shaking. Another thing that can happen, or that you can do, and this is weird and counterintuitive and everything, but again, a little bit counterintuitive to be old and still trying to play a precision game like pool. But get a higher squirt cue. This is a case where a higher squirt cue can be better. If you have inadvertent, look at this shot here again. If I have inadvertent movement this way, I just put a little bit of left English on this cue ball that I maybe didn't want to put on it. A higher squirt cue ball, higher squirt cue, is going to squirt the cue ball more this way. It's going to help to counteract that spin. A low squirt carbon fiber shaft, whatever. I move my hand, and all of a sudden my shot line is this way. It's not going to squirt very much, and guess what? My shot line is going to be this way. If I have a higher squirt cue, and all of a sudden my cue is pointed this way, the cue ball is going to squirt more in this direction. It's not going to even out. I wish it evened out, but it doesn't. It just makes it where it's not as bad. It doesn't affect your shot as much to move your backhand an inch this way or an inch this way if you have a higher squirt cue. If you're doing it by accident is what I'm getting at. So the standard philosophy for most players is that a lower squirt cue is better. Until you start getting an inverted movement. And then I believe a higher squirt cue is better for you in that case. I hit that one bad too. I did a video recently talking about a friend of mine who was very, very farsighted. And the advice that I gave him was to back up. Back up to where he could see the shots as clearly as he was capable of seeing. Find the shot line. Stay on the shot line as he comes up. At this point, things were pretty blurry for him. Glasses, contacts, LASIK, and all that stuff. Not everybody can do those things. Some people, they're in the stands and they can't wear glasses because they're just looking over the top of the frame anyway. That's the way I was before I got my LASIK. Glasses did me no good. I didn't want to wear one of those pairs of glasses that go halfway up my forehead and look like that. So this is my advice to the guy who was very farsighted was, okay, you can see the shot pretty well back here. You can't shoot from here. So maintain that shot line as you come up and shoot. The same advice can go if you're nearsighted. You don't want to just, I don't think you want to just be here where you go, I can see this great, bend over and shoot. This might work. This might have worked really great 40 years ago. Might not work as well right now. You want to make sure you're on the shot line. Now, if I'm very nearsighted as I back up, sure, there are balls. I see big fuzzy blobs, say, but I can kind of see the relationship, just kind of maintain that and kind of zero in on the proper shot line. In the first example, you're seeing it right now if you're farsighted, and you're just trying to just maintain that shot line as you come forward. In the case of if you're nearsighted, you have an inkling of what the shot line is, and you just zero in on it. Just zero in as you go in like that, and remember to cut the ball because of the 3D depth perception thing that I talked about. But so my advice, I guess really all the time, is if you can do it, back up. Make sure you're on that shot line, whether you're seeing it clearly and then maintaining it as you move forward and your vision gets worse, or when you're all the way back and you can't see it very well at all, when you can kind of zero in on it as you move forward and your vision gets better. Either way, backing up, stepping out of the box is what the British guy said, the angry British guy, although he was talking about more of like a mental thing. I'm talking about a physical thing, the vision. How to make it so your deteriorating vision isn't going to affect you as much. And that's the point of this whole video. When I was young, my stance consisted of basically this, just squat. And I would have balance and didn't have to waste a lot of time. I can just bend over shoot. I used to always say I could jump straight up in the air from my stance. For some reason I thought this was a good thing. As I've gotten older, I've realized there are some problems with that type of stand. Bending both knees. You're not going to be as well balanced, as well supported as you would be with one or both knees locked. As you get older, your balance is another one of those things that's unfortunately going to start going away on you. You're not going to be able to maintain your balance as easily. So, I don't know, lock a knee. I usually lock my left knee, which is backwards from what a lot of the books say. And I usually have my right knee bent. This is not a very balanced stance, okay? It's really not. And eventually I am going to have to change it. A more orthodox, more correct stance would be for me to lock my back knee and bend forward on this one. If you're going to make any kind of a change like that to your foot position, your leg position, your balance, it's going to affect your stroke. I have found that if I lock my back leg and bend forward, that this affects the timing of the stroke, and a lot of times that will happen. I'm hitting it harder. I don't feel like I'm hitting harder, but I just am. This is absolutely something I could get used to. Luckily, so far, I haven't had to. It hasn't been an issue for me, but it will be. You know, luckily or hopefully, I'll live long enough that it will become an issue. If you find yourself having balance problems, you can look at locking one or both legs. You can also look at adopting a wider stance. And this is not about getting the perfect pool stance. This is about prolonging your ability to play pool. You guys can't see my legs right now, but if I have both feet together and this is my stance, I'm not particularly well balanced. If I'm like this, I am better balanced. I'm better able to maintain that balance. I did a video once a million years ago at what I call the other ghost. Stupid name, but and what that was every time I move my cue forward, there is an equal but opposite force pushing back. And if I'm not particularly well balanced, that other ghost that's pushing back on me can affect my balance and affect where I hit the cue ball. If I'm well supported, if my back leg is braced or whatever, that other ghost is not going to have as much effect on me. That's the thinking anyway. So, if you're having a problem with balance as you get older, think about modifying your stance. Think about, is your current stance one that gives you good balance and good support for that backwards force that you're going to get? Every time I move my stick forward, I'm getting another force that's pushing back. And is that going to be enough to mess with me? Probably not when I'm 25. But when I'm 65, it might be enough to affect things. It is there. I bet if somebody put some type of motion tracking on my shoulder, just for me just shooting that shot, they could see my shoulder move back just a little bit. My shoulder moves back a little bit, causes the whole body, my whole torso to twist just a little bit. And as I get older, that can have more and more of an effect on my ability to shoot well and shoot consistently. It's almost a given. Just like moving more slowly as you get older, that people's backs start to hurt. It starts getting harder to bend down and then bend back up. This becomes either painful or, I guess, for some people, darn near impossible to do it. They're taking an hour to straighten back up. Probably pretty common knowledge that a lot of players, as they get older, they'll just stop bending down as much because it hurts. It's a pain in the back to do that. So they'll adopt a more upright stance. Think of like Minnesota Fats in his old age. Although I think he always had a pretty upright stance, but the same principle applies. The thing you have to be careful about if you're going to do that is that if I'm down here and my chin's on the cue, the relationship between the cue stick, therefore the shot line, and my vision center, I can pretty much tell if I'm correct. If I move my head a half of a centimeter to the right, I can tell I'm no longer lined up correctly. A half centimeter to the left, I can tell I'm no longer lined up correctly. If I'm up here, it's harder to tell. I can be off and it still look okay. I can be off this way and it could still look okay. The trick is just, do the best you can. You're getting older. Things are going to be more difficult. Some parts of your game are going to be worse than they used to be. This is just the way it is. But you still love the game, so you keep playing. And if one of the things that you have to do is adopt a more upright stance, if you're physically capable of doing it without being in a lot of pain, take some more practice strokes. Get some motion. Besides just having a stick there on that line, if you get some motion, it's easier to see. I think it's easier to see if you're on that proper line. And extreme cases like I talked about the old Minnesota Fats in his old age. I don't think he bent over at all. I think he was just like this. If I had to do this, yeah, I'm definitely going to try to take some practice strokes and see if I'm on that proper shot line. I clearly wasn't in that case. But you just have to do what you have to do to be able to keep playing. That's weird being up this high, I tell you. Yeah. Too weird for me, but maybe in another 10 years or whatever, I might have to do that. And by then, maybe I'll be better at it. I thought of something else that could actually help a person's pool game as they get older. I doubt people would make this kind of a trade, but your hearing can start getting worse. And this can help with not being distracted by loud music or idiots on the other side of the bar or whatever. Um, if it gets too bad, then it can affect your ability to hear your opponent call a shot. And like I said, I don't think anybody would ever make that trade. But I was just thinking about Shane Van Boening. I bet he's glad when he's in competition sometimes that he can turn his hearing aid down and not be distracted by things like that. Maybe I don't know the man. I'm gonna close out this little video with I don't know my thoughts on the whole matter. When I started playing pool, like I guess probably just about everybody when they first started playing pool, I was terrible, terrible. Maybe I would make one ball out of 10 if I was lucky, but it was fun, and so I kept playing. Then I got better. And now as I age, it's gonna start going back down again. I'm not gonna be as good. I'm not as good now as I was in my 20s. I've already talked about that, but it is still fun. Maybe eventually I will get to the point where I might make one ball out of 10 if I'm lucky. And I hope that is still fun. I hope I can try to maintain that sense of fun that even though I missed that ball by 500 miles, that it was more fun than not playing pool. I got to play pool for that shot. And people are going to have different tolerances for, you know, remembering the good old days. Oh man, I used to be so good and now I'm horrible. It's not any fun for me anymore because I keep thinking about how horrible I am now. I used to play straight pool pretty high. I had a lot of over 100 ball runs. Now, no. So I don't even play it anymore. And it's because of that. Because everything I do in straight pool is nowhere near as good as I used to be at it. So I quit doing it. Luckily, there are other games to play, and I enjoy banking and stuff like that. The other things that I can do. I don't know what my attitude would be if straight pool was the only game that could be played. I'd like to think that I would still be doing it because it would still be fun. I would figure out a way to make it fun, to not forget the past and not constantly comparing my present self to my 25-year-old self, but just remember that this has always been fun for me. And even though I don't play as good as I used to, it's still fun. You know, there are a couple things that I can't even really speak to. I'm not qualified to speak to. And that would be like people, that have had a stroke. And I'm not talking about a pool stroke. I'm talking about like the medical condition stroke. And it's affected them so badly that they'll have to switch sides. They'll have to switch from right-handed to left-handed or left-handed to right-handed or whatever. They're doing that because they still love pool. They know they're not going to be as competitive as they used to be, but they're still doing it because they love pool. I was thinking about like Larry Neville, rest in peace, Larry, had legs amputated and was still playing because he loved the game. And I hope I maintain that love for the game no matter how much my body starts to deteriorate and betray me and make me a really horrible pool player. I am consistently hitting that ball in that spot. If they put the pocket right there, I'd be good to go. But no, the pocket's over here. See if I can actually make it for once in my life. No. Still fun. And that's the attitude I'm trying to have, and I hope I always have it. I mean, on my last day, whenever that is, if it's tomorrow or 30 years from now or 50 years from now, I kind of hope I play pool on that day. I kind of hope I have fun playing pool on that day. I almost certainly will sneak up the place. But if it's fun, that's why I want to continue doing it. And that's why, some people at least are watching this video. Not as good as you used to be. Probably never going to be as good as you used to be. And you just kind of just have to accept that and try to slow that decline just a little bit. And that's some of the tips that I've tried to put out here. It's just trying to prolong the successes, prolong the fun a little bit more. But the thing is, like I said, you can always have fun if you have the right mental attitude. I don't know if my mental attitude is going to be such that I can always have fun even if I never make a ball. It might get old, just like I would be getting old. But I like to think that I would still enjoy it. I like to think that. I guess we'll just wait and see.